Good evening. Welcome to our Budget Finance Committee meeting for November 25th. Ms. Silva, can you give us a roll call?
Mayor Nina Rodenroth.
Here.
Vice Mayor Christine Thompson.
Here.
Councilman Tony Brown.
Here.
Councilman Elston Kessler.
Here.
Councilman Dan Lewandowski.
Here.
All present, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. We have a couple of things here, action items on the agenda. The first item being the 2023 through 2024 budget amendment. This is, you can access this on our website and open up the PDF file. The first one, do you want to give us some explanation? Charlie,
Sure.
please.
So the budget the City Council adopted back in September of 2023 expired September 30th of 2024. There were a couple items that I know I've mentioned to everybody that were significantly off, like by $100,000 or more. And as I was discussing with our CPA and our auditor, they recommended going back in the third column, if you have that document in front of you, is the amendment. The first column on the far left is what we actually expended in each of the lines in the chart of accounts. And the middle column is what we budgeted, or what you guys budgeted under the former city manager. So anything that was between $3,000 and $5,000 different between what was budgeted and what was actually spent, we amended that. So basically spread out the overages, and my goal here is to just have a cleaner audit this coming year, and this should keep us from any material finding to do with the budget. Is how the auditor explained it to me. So I'm bringing that to you tonight. It's really more of on paper, no dollars and cents went in and out of any different accounts since the fiscal year ended, but this gives us a better measuring stick as we move into this year to show us what we actually spent in each category.
So on page 13, right at the top where it says taxes income, so 23 and 24 was budgeted $257,562.28. So you amended the budget to $356,000, $11.
356,011.36 is what was budgeted. What actually came in was 257,562 in the 23-24 budget year.
Okay.
Just from my understanding, on page 2, the total income was $1,093,000 and change. Is that correct?
Yes, that's the actual amount of
That's
income.
the actual, okay. And our expenses total on page 7 was 1.128 million and change on page 7.
Total expense, one,
Page 5, that's page 5.
I'm looking at these.
1.128.
You said page 7, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
but there's 2 different page numbers. Go flip.
You're on the very last page of the
Very last
document.
Very last
page, right.
page.
Very last page.
Second to last number.
Total expenses,
Mhm.
1.128 million change.
Mhm.
Okay, and so overall, we spent 35,000 and change more than we had for income. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right,
So we're at negative 35,000 for that period.
for last year.
For income versus expense in that
Yes.
one calendar year.
Mhm.
Okay.
So I can speak more, I can exercise my right to be quiet. You tell me if you need to know more.
Obviously, if we had gotten the $90,000 to $100,000 more in property taxes, we would have done great. We would have made money. Any idea why we did so badly in collection of property taxes?
I don't know. I know that you hired a clerk and a manager, and between the two salaries, that would have pretty much taken, yes, sir?
He's just asking, why didn't we collect as much?
I don't know.
That would have been with the county, because they're the ones that.
The county
collect.
does that, right?
Yep.
No,
They
I mean,
collect
that's
taxes.
something I can take back and try to figure out why that was so far
The tax.
off. It could have been overestimated on the city's part. I just actually don't
That's a
know.
huge overestimation,
Mhm.
huge. And we normally budget to like 90 or 95% of what we expect.
We have to by law.
Right, so we should
I'm sorry,
budget.
Not what we expect. We have to budget 95% based on what the appraised values are.
Right, right. And so we should have come in with more property taxes than our budget. And instead, we came in with, a huge number, 1/3, 33%
Well, it's
less.
100,000 less.
Yeah, it's 86,000 based on 200, or based on 356. So we're talking about 25% less than the budget actually came in. 75% of the total budget came in. That's just enormous.
But that is a tax collector question.
So I'd like to ask you to talk to the tax collector.
Okay.
Find out why we only got 75% approximately of what we thought we were gonna get last year.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm good.
Okay. So we need to make a motion.
Yeah, if you would entertain a motion to approve the amended budget for 23-24.
We actually need to ask for public comment too, even though
Oh.
I don't think so.
Any public comments? Do y'all have any? Jamie, anybody here? Any more comments? Okay, can I get a motion to approve this amended budget for 2023 through 2024? I'm sorry, it's a budget amendment.
I'll make a motion to amend the budget.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Since nobody jumped on it.
Thank you, Speedy.
Thanks, Speedy.
Anytime.
All right. Next, we have ordinance 2024-610, and this is in regard to the millage. Mr. Van Zant?
So, I've spoken with you all individually. The way the budget was advertised in the proposed millage was based on a dollar figure of $97 million and change approaching $98 million. This is the amount of money that our Clay County Clay County property appraiser has told us we'll be receiving. Every property appraiser in Florida is required by June 30th of every year to provide to the State Department of Revenue a certified taxable value for the county and each municipality within each county. Their certification was at almost $122 million. We, knowing that that was an inflated number, briefed you guys on that and proposed a budget coming up close to $98 million of taxable revenue. And if you remember, Councilman Lewandowski made the motion to go to the rollback rate. So we actually did the math to figure out the rollback rate on a dollar figure of almost $98 million. And that's the way we move forward with our budget. To this day, the Department of Revenue data has not been corrected. We talked to our contact at Department of Revenue, we talked to Mr. Drake at the Property Appraiser's Office, Mr. Wright talked to some of the staff for Mr. Drake. Everybody kept saying, don't worry, it's gonna work its way out on the end. Don't worry, it's gonna work its way out on the end. It still hasn't worked its way out. So that brings us to tonight and the advertisement we had to take. And so we're readopting a millage rate and readopting the budget ordinance to mostly correct that. The other part that you guys seemed pleased by was we proposed a budget surplus in that we had more projected revenue than what we were expending, and that is not lawful according to the Department of Revenue. You have to budget to expend everything that you have in your bank account and that you're projecting to bring in. So that brings our income up to 1.9 million and change, and our budget of expenditures up to 1.9 million and change. So that's how we got here tonight. Right, so do we need to read these by short title, or?
We can do short title if you say what the millage rates are, otherwise we have to read the whole ordinance.
Okay. So I've got the short in front of me. What is the actual millage rate that we're trying to adopt?
3.1216?
Yes, sir. Okay.
Which is the rollback rate.
Yes. Well-
Based on the number. Okay, thank you.
Based on an incorrect number that the state won't fix.
Have not yet fixed.
You're very optimistic. Thank you.
Playing a game I didn't write the rules for.
I understand, but it's just because we're going to have to go back and fix this after the state corrects what our expected property values are.
I don't think so.
I don't know that we have to do that. Let's vote this out if it's okay, and then at the end, if you want me to comment and give you some steps I think are necessary moving forward, I'll be happy to do that.
So I may move that we read ordinance 2024-610 by short title only.
I'll second that.
Ordinance 2024-610, an ordinance of the City of Keystone Heights levying the ad valorem property tax millage rate for municipal purposes on all taxable property within the city for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2024 and ending on September 30th, 2025, stating the percentage by which the millage to be levied exceeds the rolled back rate, providing an effective date, even though the millage rate is not going to exceed the rolled back rate. And we would have to also ask for public comment again.
Any public comments? No? Anybody else on here? Any comments?
No.
No, I ask Ms. Silva, please record that this is an error on our property values. We believe our property values in the city, because of data from the county tax appraiser, should be around 98 million. Because of some erroneous input somewhere, the state believes our property values are 122 million. And because of this discrepancy, which has not been fixed and should be fixed, we are forced into this action.
I'll get that quoted in the minutes.
Thank you.
So basically, the difference, I think if I remember the math, it was going to be households would receive $57 per year per household, additional monies as a result of the rollback rate. With this change, I think it takes it to around $36 or something around there, if I'm not correct, when we looked at it.
With this
I
rollback
took it
rate that
down.
you're adopting is based off the number that we know is inflated by about 25%.
Right.
But it should leave everybody at a dead even
Like a dead
tax
even-
bill
okay.
from the year prior.
So the rollback
I think the
really won't make a difference, essentially.
$57 average you're thinking
Yeah.
is if we kept it at 4.2901, which it had been for a few years, versus the rollback rate. That would have been an increased
Gotcha.
average expenditure of the 57 or so dollars.
But here's the problem. Previous year, our property values, if I remember correctly, were appraised at around 80, high 80 millions, 88 million or something like that. 80 something million. So by going to 122 million, we're talking about a 40 to 50% increase in property value. That has not happened here. So once the state figures that out and corrects it, with this millage rate of 3.1216 and the reduced property values, we'll actually have reduced income. And we will have less than the rollback rate for the income for the city.
Right.
So we're gonna have, I don't know, I'm trying to do math in my head, this is scary, but I mean, $10,000 to $30,000 less in income because of this new millage rate we're being forced to adopt. Unless we do some kind of action, unless you can correct me on this, because we know at a 90, was it 92 or 94 million?
98 million is
98
what we
million,
believe.
98 million,
actual
that
number
a millage rate of 3.8847 would give us our exact same dollar taxes as last year. But we're not collecting that. We're only collecting 3.1216. So when that 122 gets reduced to 98, that's $24 million less, and we have a lower millage rate. So we're going to see less income.
I would just be careful. You're not being forced to adopt any millage rate. That's the purview of the council. You can adopt anything up to max millage.
I mean, we could go back to the 4.2.
We're stuck in a catch-22 because of the situation. If we go to the 4.2, then as soon as they change it, then all our taxpayers are going to pay more money.
No, they'll be paying what they were
I'm
paying.
not suggesting you should. I just want to say you're not forced to, because the Department of Revenue looks at things like that.
The only bright spot that I would say is if we go to 3.1216 and the property values are reappraised correctly to 98 million, our citizens will actually get a break. They'll actually have to pay less in property taxes. Not even what they paid last year. And because we are in a budget surplus situation,
Hey,
we're okay.
could we ask Mr. Wright to come speak to this? He's been dealing directly with the gentleman at the Department of Revenue.
Thanks, Bo.
Yes. So as confusing as this is, so the 3.1216 is the rollback rate at the higher dollar amount we got from Clay County. So if it was at 122 million, the rollback rate, so if all the landowners wanted to pay the same, we wanted them to pay the same property taxes at the 122 million, that would go back to the 3.1. So based on the 97, almost close to 98 million dollars we've got that we know is our actual, that 3.8847 is the amount that they will pay a flat tax. They will not have any tax
That's what we
increase.
just said.
Yes, so the 3.1216 is the rollback rate for the $122 million. That's not an accurate number in anything. Does that make sense?
But that's what this ordinance says.
Based on the 122 million, we cannot fix that right now.
Right. So what happens when our property values are corrected to be 98 million?
So when our property taxes are at $98 million at the 3.8847, their property taxes will be exactly the same as they were last year.
But it's not 3.8847, it's 3.1216, that's what we're passing right now.
No, we're not. Well, with the
That's what
rollback.
it is.
The rollback rate is a 3.1. If you look further down, our what we're adopting is a 3.8847.
So you're not adopting the rollback.
No, the rollback rate has, if everything was fine, if our numbers came in at 97 million, almost close to 98 million, our rollback rate would be at the 3.88. That would be our rollback number. But because our property values were inflated to 122 million, it changed our rollback rate. it lessened our rollback rate.
Okay.
Does that
Right,
make
so I guess
sense?
I'm reading this ordinance incorrectly. And what the ordinance is actually saying is that we're gonna have a millage rate of 3.8847.
That's correct.
And because our current property values are 122 million, that is an increase in property taxes for our citizens.
Correct.
And we had to advertise it. They had to approve our advertisement. We had to advertise a tax increase, which we did not previously
Okay,
do.
so what this ordinance is saying is that, assuming the 122 stays there, the millage rate that we adopted, 3.8847, will increase their property taxes.
Correct.
Okay. And then what we're hoping for is that the property values are reevaluated to 98 million. And when and if that happens, then it goes back to basically a rollback and our citizens don't pay a dime extra.
Yes, sir.
So, and we have email stating that it has been fixed to the 97, we were just, because of the timing of everything,
Got it.
it just wasn't fixed in time for that.
Okay.
So that's really worst-case scenario. We're expecting the dollar number to drop on
The
that.
dollar amount will drop
Yeah.
to just under 98 million.
It's just based on this, it's worst-case scenario.
Okay. All right. I got
So we
it
have
now.
to advertise what they showed us.
I misunderstood what this ordinance
Yep,
was
so
saying.
it is,
I got it now.
yep. So I was just trying to shed some light. It's
Thank you.
super confusing and I wish
Yeah, it's
it hadn't have
unfortunate.
been. It is super unfortunate. And this is the first year they opened up the Oasis portal. This is the first year every municipality, every government's doing this. And there's been hiccups along the way, so it's been a mess. So,
Okay.
Okay,
I got it now.
that makes a lot more sense. Thanks, Bev.
I do have a question, not to Bo, but to the manager. What's this gonna do to our budget? I mean, are we gonna have to redo the budget in the way of what we've got coming in so that we know what we can spend and what we can't spend?
Well, let me back up to what I told you guys earlier. The budget that we advertised that went in the Monitor, the actual advertisement, we had to include the $752,000 and change that rolled forward in our bank account as income for this year and show it as expended. So we increased some numbers for the purpose of that advertisement. And my plan moving forward is after we reconcile all the accounts in mid-January, we do that in the middle of every month, to bring you guys our first quarter budget amendment at the February meeting to give us a more accurate picture of where we are. Because we're not on pace to spend $1.9 million in this budget year. And the revenue is going to come out to something close to that. It might be another $100,000 off, but we're not on pace to spend 1.8 or 2 million either. So my goal is to bring you a budget amendment after the first fiscal quarter and at least after the third fiscal quarter. So at the end of the year, we're not playing this accordion thing with all the numbers and you guys are informed every step of the way as to what we've spent, what we projected to spend, and keep a tighter shot group on that whole issue. That's my plan. I don't know if that exactly answered your question, but I don't see us not having enough money to spend based on what the expenses we planned.
Okay. And I have, just for verification, okay, because I've done this for a long time, this year has been different, and I just need, for my own self, verification. And nothing against Mr. Wright, but he is a project, you got him as a project manager, that's his title. And he's handling the budget, and he handled all this other stuff with the county and the state and all that.
He was
because-
working with me. I work directly with Tracy Drake, our property appraiser.
Okay,
He handed off to staff, I handed off to staff. That's just my leadership style. And Bo has done the nug work, but in many of those phone calls with the bureaucrat at the state and with the property appraiser's office, it's been he and I, but then him going back to the computer and nugging out the details.
Okay, well, unfortunately, council, I'm not used to that style because that's not what we've had in a while, so I'm trying to get used to it. Fortunately, I only got 5 more months. So, but I'm just not, the way I would have saw it, and I know that you just got a physical person, but that's the person that would be doing the budget.
Oh, yes, sir. Both Mr. Wright and I would have loved to have had a steady fiscal clerk through the year doing most of this nug work, and we just didn't have her until about 2 weeks before I had to bring you a budget, so
Right,
we
okay.
had to reach a little bit.
Regarding your expectation to have an amendment after the first quarter, like we do with the money for solo for the lakes, we set aside $10,000 a year, and we carry that over year to year with a maximum, I believe it is, of $50,000. If we're not gonna spend all our money, and we have to have it in the budget somewhere, I would love for that to go into an infrastructure or a strategic fund for replacement of city hall or city streets or infrastructure type of stuff. And so if you are looking for ideas of where to put that extra money in the budget, I would say, just like we do with the lake money, put this extra money in an infrastructure.
CIP, you have a CIP.
Okay,
account.
CIP, put it there so that we can do major projects like repaving streets and adding people onto the city water system and things like that. I know I've said it multiple times, and I'll just say it again. My brother-in-law had to pay $18,000 out of his own pocket to connect up to the city sewer system. We should not have citizens in this city that have to make that kind of expenditure because of whatever county or state or things are going on, because he happened to live within X distance of the city sewer system. So that'd be my thought.
Okay.
It's a good idea. I agree.
Did we vote on the millage?
We have not.
No.
Okay.
We have to actually vote on the ordinance, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So I move that we approve ordinance 2024-610 as written.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay, so next is ordinance 2024-609, referring to the budget.
So I'll move that we read by title only, ordinance 2024-609.
Second.
I sec, oh,
Ordinance
Oh, go ahead.
2024-609, an ordinance for the purpose of adopting the final budget for the city of Keystone Heights, Florida for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2024 and ending September 30th, 2025, and providing an effective date.
Any comments?
I look forward to the amendment after the first quarter.
Can I get a motion?
I'll move that we approve ordinance 2024-609.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Motion carries. Meeting adjourned.
20 seconds
Do we
left.